if reposted.
All right, Andrew, I'm a little bit older than you, but do you remember books that were called Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yes.
Like you were reading along, it's like, if you want to take the river swim, you go to page 76. If you want to vine across the river, you go to page 83. You remember those?
You'd keep your finger in the thing so you'd saw if you didn't want to take that path.
Today is a Choose Your Own Adventure. We have 2 quotes about punctuality. I'm going to read both. You choose. Here we go. The first one is from Anonymous. If you are 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you are on time, you are late. And if you're late, you didn't want to be there. That's from Anonymous. Or punctuality is the virtue of the bored. That's from Evelyn Waugh. I know the answer to this, but you definitely are a punctual guy, right?
Yep.
And that's a strong virtue you grew up with?
I don't know if that's something I grew up with. I think sports is kind of what instilled that into me because my siblings are not as punctual as I am. And so I guess maybe I grew up with it, not in the sense of maybe my family, but just, I don't know, maybe it's who you are. I want to reserve the right to be able to return to one of these quotes, but I'd like to explore punctuality as the virtue of the bored. I think I can see how you could make that argument, but for me, that's not true. If you're bored, then you don't want to be doing something. I think these two kind of say conflicting things.
They definitely say conflicting things. I did that on purpose. Punctuality is the virtue of board. The example that I could give for that is that if you don't have a lot going on in your life, you can always be there early. You can always be at whatever you're doing early.
Right. I don't know if it's a common saying, but I buy into this. If you want to get something done, give it to someone that's busy. And I find that when I'm busy, I'm churning through more productive things. And I feel like people that are successful can be on time. They're like, okay, I need to go to this. All right, this needs to be over. And they have the ability to stop what they're doing to arrive at whatever commitment that they've already made.
I would like to push back on that because Bill Clinton became president of the United States and he was always known to be running late. Never was on time to anything. Obviously very successful.
Right. So I guess kind of like how I'm different than my siblings, it's just kind of how it is for you. I've gotten so angry and I've spent so much time being upset about people being late. I've looked into like why people are late. I was like, because in my mind, I'm like, if you aren't here, you don't respect my time. And I've said this on the podcast before, but it's like, don't focus on you. Like, where is someone else coming from? And it's not that they're angry, they don't want to, it's just their personality. I don't necessarily view you as a punctual person, but how do you land? How were you before kids?
I think I was more of a late-ish person, but I've definitely become more of an on-time person. I hate rushing. Like rushing is the bane of my existence. I hate going from here to there to here. And that's exactly what my wife does. She loves to jam thousands of things, go from this part of this. And we're always rushing and we're always late. And it drives me crazy. I hate rushing. Here's the example that I would make to my wife all the time. If we have dinner plans somewhere out, and if we leave early, we will go to the place we're going and find a parking spot right in front. And we'll be even earlier. But if we're late and we're rushing, we'll show up and there'll be no parking spots and I will be circling for an hour to find a spot. If you're early, it just seems to level life a little bit and you're calmer, and maybe because you're calmer, you find a part. I don't know. It just seems like if you're early, good things happen. Good things happen to people that show up early.
I think the best personality is someone that can do both. When I first moved to San Francisco, I would get invited to parties and they'd be like, all right, it starts at 7. And I would show up at 7 because I didn't want to be weird and be early. And people would answer the door and be like, what are you doing here? They say 7, assuming it's 8. So like being able to adjust to that, or being early to a job interview is more important than being early to someone's birthday party.
Does it have to be like, do you just have to be consistent? Like if you're consistently late, I can plan on you being consistently late. So if I say like, hey, be here at 7, I know you're going to show up at 7:15. But if you're one of those people that are like early and late and all over the map, then I don't have anything consistency on you.
I guess so. I subscribe to being early to everything. Sometimes I get there early and I know that it's not socially acceptable to be there early, so I'll just like walk around outside. especially living in Los Angeles pre-COVID when traffic was bad. I would have appointments all over the city. I'd get there. I would plan to be there half an hour early, and sometimes I'd only show up 10 minutes early because unexpected things come up. So many people would make the excuses like, oh, so traffic was so bad. I was like, you live in Los Angeles. That's the butt of every LA joke, is that traffic's bad. So
you're leaving yourself for some margins, right? Like if you leave right at the last minute before you get there, if you get lost, if there's traffic, if you're whatever, then you have no room in the margins to make up for it. So if you leave early, you have a little bit of slack to be there on time.
Yeah. I didn't do that any research on Evelyn, but punctuality is a virtue of the board. Is like the more I'm looking at those words, it's getting me angry because I would consider myself bored. Like maybe she's just trying to project on other people.
Okay, so this is the last thing that I will say. My wife is late to freaking everything. Her parents now have said to me, like, oh, we know, we tell Karen to come over and then she's going to be like 20 minutes late. But in my wife's non-defense, she's got 3 kids. She's like shuffling them around. She's trying to make sure they get packed water. Or when we're going on a date, she's got the babysitter and giving them plans. Like, how do you factor in the grace part for people that just have so much going on in their life? They're just going to be, there's no way that they could do anything but be late.
I guess it's just your actions speak louder than words. Like you know that's who it is, and you either choose to accept that or you don't, because there are people with 3 kids that figure it out. I've never had kids, and I know that there's unforeseen circumstances, but I think you're saying, and maybe this is true or not, she might be late even if she didn't have 3 kids. It would probably be different degrees.
I'm trying to remember. No, I'm trying to remember if she. I don't think she was necessarily the most punctual person to begin with, but
Right.
she's definitely not punctual now. And by the way, she makes no bones about it. She's always like, I'm always like, hey, we got to get there. This thing's going on. She's like, I will just be late. And I'm like, it's just sort of a major bone of contention between us because I'm always like, no, let's be on time.
Yeah. I famously left people because I said I'm leaving at this certain time, and I leave them. My friends in high school we call it the Andrew abort. I would just bounce if people didn't do what they said. And I told my fiance, Nicole, that if we're getting married at a certain time and she's not there, I'm out. I'm just going to leave.
Is she an early or a late person?
She's pretty on time.
I'm assuming someone that was going to marry you would be on time. I just had this sense that. Once again, it doesn't really matter what you are, right? I mean, God admit it's all different, or we evolve to different things. But do you know who you are? Like, do you know you're a late person? Like the person that shows up late and has no idea. I'm like, that drives me crazy. They just got no clue. Do you know you're a late or an early person? Then I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah. Just take stock of who you are. And if you're a late person, fundamentally change. That's it.
You are. That's it.
If you can be on time, please reach out. You can find us at Reposted Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Andrew Keller for Larry. 3 kids! Robert saying, thanks for stopping by.